Welcome to Comic and Screen. My name is Sam Otten, and with me is Jason Book. Hey, Jason, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm good, Sam. How about you?
Not too bad. We are doing a little bit of a retrospective here. We are now into the Rebirth era of DC Comics, and so we figured this would be a time to really process everything that we read and the era of the New 52 DC Comics. So this is from fall of 2011 right up till basically this summer of 2016. We obviously didn't read all of the books in the New 52 era, but we read a healthy amount of them, and we've compiled our list of the top 5 stories from that New 52 era. So let's kick things off right away with our number 5 entry, which is from Justice League, kind of the flagship title throughout New 52. They started things off with a nice Justice League origin, but we're actually putting on our list Justice League Throne of Atlantis. So Jason, what are just some of your overall reactions to this story?
I like the art a lot. It worked well with the Aquaman and the undersea characters. Any sort of series that can make Aquaman a little cooler than he has been in years past is always a welcome thing. The character, sometimes suffered from some kind of generic personality traits and things like that. So I like that aspect of it. And also, it worked well in a story that could be translated to an animated feature as well. So I thought it was pretty cool that it did that kind of like a one tight story.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was pretty smart too. Like if you're reforming the Justice League and they're all still pretty early on in their relationships, to me that's a nice time to tell this story of tension between Atlantis and the surface world. So to me it made sense that there would be some animosity between those before, Aquaman and Mera were able to kind of, hunker down their kingdom and stuff. It made sense to have some of that battle. And in terms of the story, I thought it had some epic stuff too as well with like Boston and other cities. Mm-hmm. And really, if the water was rising up, that would be a pretty big crisis that the Justice League would be needed to handle. So
yeah, no doubt.
Memorable story, good art, good use of the characters. And one of the real successes of New 52 was, I think, bringing Aquaman back around. Jeff Johns had a nice story going with the Trench on the Aquaman book, and then having that crossover into Justice League was well done, I thought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I enjoyed it as well.
All right, number 4 on the list is a little bit of an offbeat choice, but it's a book that I really love, so I lobbied for this to be on the list. So this is Prez by Mark Russell, and this was later on, just in this last year of the New 52. This is the Teenage President, and this is a book that I just fell in love with, as it's a brilliant political satire with clever art that the art has just as much embedded in it and enough little nuggets to find, but the writing is so sharp and witty and smart and kind of critical of society and some ways that society's going, but it's a very unique story, it's very well told, and it's also just really funny. It's funny, but it makes you think, that kind of thing. So
sounds cool.
It's one I enjoyed.
Nice.
All right, number 3, we have Wonder Woman. So Wonder Woman, we're going to go to Volume 1, where Brian Azzarello and Cliff Chiang started things off, retelling Wonder Woman's origin. So what were your thoughts on this one?
I really enjoyed it. I thought, first of all, the art by Cliff Chiang is cool. It's got like a retro, really kind of minimal line work. Almost reminds me of Love and Rockets or something like that. And obviously the writing by Azzarello was great. Did a good job of really mirroring like the old school mythology of the Wonder Woman character and kind of making it how it would be in the world today. And she definitely like did not take crap from anybody, but was not like too butch and stuff like that. It was just a really good telling of the character and really making her like a true god of war, or goddess of war. And I thought it worked well. Really made you kind of see how she could stand toe to toe with Superman and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought she was a very well-drawn lead character.
Yeah.
But to me, I also, like you said, the art was great. Like when I was reading, I read the first 3 volumes of this, and when I was reading it, just opening it up to that art it was such a consistent style. It was so cool, and it seemed to really fit the story.
Totally.
And I like it when there's that synergy between the writing and the art, so that was cool.
Yeah.
I think there was a little bit of controversy about, redefining how she came about, and instead of the clay thing, it was actually she's a demigod.
Yeah.
But to me, I like the kind of demigod angle. I think it kind of makes some sense. And Azzarello didn't totally just ignore the original origin story with the clay.
No.
He made that was the lie that was told to try to cover, Zeus's tracks and sort of stuff. So, but if you're a real diehard person for the clay origin of Wonder Woman, you might want to pick up the Rebirth Wonder Woman, because now they're really taking on both of those, and they're saying which one is true, and Wonder Woman's
That's
actually
right.
not sure which one it is, and it looks like we're going to kind of follow both of those origin stories and see which one kind of wins out.
Yeah, and another thing too, when you're dealing with a character that's a god, pretty sure as a storytelling device, having things be like something, someone's made of clay or from another god or whatever. I mean, there's got to be some room to kind of do something different with the character. It's not like something like Batman's parents getting killed. That has to happen, kind of thing. You can be a little bit more malleable with Wonder Woman, I think.
Yeah, I think it still needs to have the Greek kind of
Yeah,
connections.
the mythology
Which,
angle, right? Yeah.
exactly. But yeah, to me, I'm open to some new interpretations. And if they hadn't had a Greek connection at all, that would have been a problem, just like you were
Exactly.
saying.
Yeah.
But if they kind of spin the Greek connection in a different way, I'm okay with that. And I thought that they played it out pretty cool and had her kind of family issues. So
Yes, yeah, she definitely has those.
yeah. All right, cool. Number 2 on our list of favorite stories from New 52 is the Action Comics run by Grant Morrison. So Grant Morrison was the writer on Action Comics from the beginning of New 52, and he went for about 16 issues, I think it was. And really, we're kind of calling those whole 16 issues kind of a work of art. And he took us on a ride where for a while it got a little crazy, but he
Yeah.
kind of brought it around, and he had sort of his Grant Morrison master plan in mind. The art started out by Rags Morales. So what were your thoughts looking back on that storyline?
I loved it. You really hit the nail on the head. There's definitely some weird issues where I think when you read it in one sitting, they might not necessarily have to fit in there as far as the story goes. But there is, a solid through line in the story. And I really was drawn to the issues where it was either the young Superman or young Clark wearing the T-shirt and jeans, and those great, one-shot stories where it was about how he got the T-shirts from that guy, or when he's fighting kind of reimagined versions of characters for the first time, and really dealing with people problems instead of fighting giant space aliens all the time. And it's even when he was fighting aliens and stuff, they focused on the people on those planets and things like that. It really makes it a much better Superman story than a lot of stuff we saw in the New 52, because it focused on people instead of just Superman being a symbol. Like Superman fights for the little guy, and they really kind of were trying to recapture that stuff from the original run of Action Comics, and I thought they did a really good job with it.
Yeah, they did. They put him back in touch with the everyday person, the downtrodden. And then when it did get to be more cosmic and more kind of crazy threats, they still kept it where you could feel what Superman was going through, and it had that heart behind it, even though it was crazy cosmic stuff, dimensional stuff that was going on.
Yeah.
And I liked the art too. Like, I thought Morales' art fit for the young, brash kind of Superman just on the scene.
Totally.
And some people have criticized the Superman books for splitting it off and having Action Comics be 5 years earlier and then having the Superman title being 5 years later. I actually thought it was pretty cool. Like, I thought it was nice to give Action Comics the space to tell the story of him becoming Superman and learning the ropes and everything. And I thought it was fine to have the Superman book be when he's just full-fledged Superman, going about. And I thought it was cool too. Action Comics could tell the story about him getting his suit and everything, which is the suit that we see later. So for me, I never was bothered by the 5-year difference. I didn't think that they had to be right lockstep, like the same day and date.
Exactly. It just goes to show you that's the story people will remember. They're not going to remember all those Superman comics we reviewed. Throughout all those issues about him fighting the different guy and all this stuff when they were trying to really kind of capture what Superman was in the regular Superman book, whereas a book like this just really took the simple idea of what Superman was trying to be in a younger version, and it just really encapsulated the character for me.
Yep. Yeah. So, all right. Pushing to number 1. If you are a New 52 reader at all, if you love DC Comics, you can probably guess what our number 1 is. It's going to be Batman by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, especially how they kicked things off with the Court of Owls, and then going into the City of Owls. But that's our number 1 story arc from the New 52, and really the Batman book overall through the whole New 52 was pretty amazing.
Oh, yeah.
But what are your main thoughts looking back on that Court of Owls?
It's just one of those things. It was coming off the heels of those Nolan movies. Obviously, other people have done strong runs on Batman. Kind of like what they're doing in the new Rebirth, almost in a way. I mean, they're only one issue in, but how do you fix something that's not broken? How do you make it better? How do you make something that's really entertaining, but not go against what's come before it. And Scott Snyder and Capullo just nailed it. Like, didn't go against any of the other stories that have come before it. Took little pieces, bits here, but also coming with the Owls as like a new kind of group of villains for Batman to fight, and like this mythology with the city and everything like that. I just thought they really knocked it out of the park, and like I can't wait to see them do it as an animated movie one day, because I think it would be really good for that.
Yeah, they worked a little bit of it into like the Batman versus Robin, or
Yeah, I
one of
heard
the
that,
one of
yeah.
the new one, but they didn't go all in. They like
Yeah.
made it a part of another story.
Hmm.
But what you were saying about them, going off on Batman was already a hot property, was doing well, and for them to try to not mess it up, but they not only did they not mess it up, they took it to a whole new place, comics
Yeah,
wise. And Tom
totally.
King, the new writer, has called Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's run the best Batman run ever.
I
That
saw
by
that.
according
Yeah.
to Tom King. But yeah, it was great. I mean, to me, the Court of Owls was just a stroke of genius because it was connected to Gotham, like you said. It was connected to the sort of mythology and the iconography of Batman. So we have this bat, so now we have the owl, right?
Yeah.
And to me, it like made so much sense that. Of course, Scott Snyder was great for thinking it up, but it also hit me as one of those things of like, how come how nobody thought of this before?
Yeah.
Or when I'm reading it, I kind of feel like, hasn't this always been part of Batman's mythology? Like, no, this is
Totally.
brand new.
Yeah.
It immediately seemed like it had that classic feel of like, this should always be connected to Batman. It should never go away.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I enjoyed it very much, and they kind of kept throwing things into it, and they were smart to make it a group of them and not just one guy, that didn't die or something like that. So even in some of the spin-off issues that other people did during the crossovers, because I have a collection of that, their issues aren't as strong as Snyder and Capullo's, but the story and the idea is so good that even just like Nightwing fighting one of these guys, or Batgirl or Robin, it was really entertaining as well.
Yeah, so it basically, was immediately must read for any Batman fan, and that's kind of amazing to have that with so much Batman in the history to be able to add something that's that classic to the Batman, record books.
Yeah.
And then the fact that they continued it is kind of amazing. It makes it look even better in retrospect that the team stayed together and had such good stuff after that too.
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of an omnibus one day if they put that as one oversized volume. It's like
Yeah.
run will be talked about for a long time.
Yeah. All right. So that's our list of 5 great stories from the New 52. If you disagree, or if you have some other thoughts of ones that you really loved, feel free to drop those in the comments. But it was an era that had its ups and downs. Overall, I was happy with the New 52. I thought there was enough good stuff where if you look for the good stuff, you could find it. Now we're into the Rebirth era, which looks like it's going to be strong as well, and we'll try to find those great stories in the Rebirth era as well.
Sounds good.